Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Community and Culture Committee meeting of Monday, the 12th of May, 2025. I'll declare the meeting open at 6:01 p.m. I'd like to start by acknowledging the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation, who are the traditional owners of all lands, waters and sky in the Georges River area. I'll pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who live, work and meet on these lands. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Apologies, I think we have all of our committee members here tonight, so I don't think we need that. And we'll move to the next item on the agenda. We have no request to attend by video or audio link because everyone's here. The notice of live streaming of the council meeting. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is being recorded for minute taking purposes and is also being broadcast live to the public on council's website in accordance with section 5 of council's code of meeting practice. The recording will be made available on council's website. The order of business is as shown in the agenda, which has been made available. Staff and public are reminded that this meeting is open. Doors to the meeting room are to be left open unless the meeting moves into a closed or confidential session, according to section 14 of the Code of Meeting Practice. Only if the meeting moves into a closed or confidential session will the public broadcasting of the meeting be suspended. Council's Code of Meeting Practice prohibits the electronic recording of meetings without the express permission of Council. Mobile phones must be turned to silent during the meeting. Disclosures of interest. I actually had one tonight, councillors. It's a non-significant non-pecuniary interest in item COM 014-25, Community Grants 2024-25 Round 2, for the reason that I was invited to become the patron of Cogra Historical Society in 2023, and they are a proposed recipient of a community grant in the 2024-25 Round 2. I'll remain in the chamber and take part in voting on this item. Do any other councillors have any interest to declare tonight? No? Okay, well then we'll move on. Yeah, we don't have any others. We don't need to vote on that. There are no speakers tonight registered for public forum for tonight's meeting. So the first item on the agenda then will be the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was COM 013-25, the meeting of the Community and Culture Committee held on the 14th of April 2025. So if I could call for a mover and a seconder. So it's moved by Councillor Mort and seconded by...
I saw your name come up, so.
Councillor Allison. Okay, thank you. I don't think we need to go around the room for this one, do we? I think we can just go, all those in favour, say aye. Is there anyone against? Okay, we'll declare that one carried. Which brings us to our first committee report for tonight, COM 014-25, Community Grants 2024-25, Round 2. And before we hear from, I'm going to hear from the Director tonight for an overview of this report, but I'll first call for a mover and a seconder, please. So that was Councillor Mort, and I think that was Councillor Jamoski seconding. Or Councillor Liu, sorry, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Liu. Okay, sharing a microphone, sorry. Okay, so I'll just call on our Director to please give us an overview. Ms. Dodd, thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. So tonight's community grants report outlines the recommendations for community grants round 2. The recommendation is to exhaust the funding of $125,000 and in doing so support 16 groups either partially or total funding for their grant application. It was a very competitive round with 340,000 requested, but only 125 being able to be allocated. And you can see within the report the amount of capacity building sessions that were held, 40 one-on-one sessions as well as workshops, to make sure that community members felt confident and comfortable when they were submitting their applications. And we actually encourage people before submitting an application to make sure that they reach out to Council's grants officer so that we can, make sure that they have a full and complete application when doing so and provide any recommendations and suggestions. So the attachment outlines all of the successful and non-successful recipients, and if there's any specific questions I will hand it over to Alexis and Ben.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Todd. Councillors, do we have any questions of the director or of her team about any of these grants? Nope. I actually do have a quick question. I'm just curious about the process. Some of them I recognise as having applied previously and been successful, and I'm just curious, without singling anybody out, the ones that weren't recommended for funding, is there any sort of reason why you give them feedback as to how they might be more successful next time, for argument's sake?
Thanks, Madam Chair. We have notes feedback taken from the assessment panel. Successful applicants are required to receive that feedback in case there are any specifics from the assessment panel in passing on their recommendation. Unsuccessful applicants are also recommended to reach out for feedback. There were a few thematic, generally areas for development this round. One of them was strength of concept. So presenting the case and the application for a fully formed project that really communicates the need in the community. There were a few applications where the assessment panel recommended not funding this time, but that the applicant organisation return in the future with a few things addressed. Another one that comes up a lot, and particularly in this round, is the impact criteria, so the evaluation measures of the project. Presenting a project in the application that can be measured to be reported on in the future. A lot of community organisations that I particularly deal with already understand the impact of their work, but it's then presenting it, consolidating it in a way so that it can be reported on in the future. And particularly in this round, we saw a lot of applications that weren't as financially strong or robust in their application, so they didn't present several or alternative streams of income, and the assessment panel recommended that they return with a stronger case for financial capacity in delivering the project in the community.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. I also think that council seems to provide a lot of support to assist people with grant applications, etc. too. Don't they have sessions with them one-on-one or offer that? And there's that win a grant workshop or something like that, which is really useful because it can be quite a daunting process for like community groups, especially who might not have all of the expertise as people who may be more proficient at it. No, that's fine. I'm happy with that. That's great. Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Councillor Moore?
Yeah, I just through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the Ben or Alexa if how is the panel made up of the decision makers for the grants, and how many are there on that panel?
So there are 3 independent council officers on every panel. Alexis, as the coordinator for community capacity building, is on every panel, and then there are 2 independent council officers as well, sitting for a total of 3. And I sit and chair and take their recommendations and feedback.
Thank you. Councillors, anything further? Okay, if that's the case, we might put it, if Ms McKinley, if you would mind going around the room.
Madam Chair.
4.
Councillor Allison.
4.
Councillor Anzalotti.
4.
Councillor Arthur.
4.
Councillor Demoski.
4.
Councillor Gown.
4.
Councillor Liu.
4.
Councillor Mort.
4.
Councillor Wang.
4.
9 votes for. Unanimous.
Thank you so much. We'll declare that one carried, and we will now move on to our next item, which is COM 015-25, Customer Experience Strategy Progress Update and Draft Customer Feedback and Complaints Management Policy Review. And before we go for an overview, I'll just call for a mover and a seconder, please. So I think that was Councillor Liu and is moving it. Deputy Mayor Liu is moving it, and Councillor Demoski is seconding it. Thank you so much. And we are once again going to our director for an overview. Thank you. Ms. Dodd.
Through you, Madam Chair. So tonight's report has 2 parts. One is an update of the customer experience strategy, outlining the progress to date, noting that we're 2 years into a 4-year strategy. And the second part is we've conducted a review of the customer feedback and complaints management policy, and we've suggested the draft that would go on public exhibition for 28 days and then come back with any commentary regarding feedback around that policy. I guess some things to note are that attachment 2, you can see quite clearly all the progress that has been made in the strategy. The strategy has had 23 of the 36 actions completed, and there's another 7 underway, which is excellent progress. And in terms of it's in the body of the report, but some key highlights that we've been able to achieve in the last 2 years is we've implemented a new CX1 telephone system as well as our email system, which has made a huge difference for the way that we can capture data, and also we have stay on the line surveys now, as well as people can request a call back every 3 minutes if they contact council, so that they don't have to stay and wait if there are extended wait times. We also have standardized templates. We have had a soft launch of our web chat last week on the tree page, the rates page, and the contact us page, and we'll continue to roll out the web chat as we look at the back end data of that. We've also had lots of capacity building sessions for the community. So the grants capacity building sessions is an example, but we've also had sessions for people who would like to lodge a DA or an event permit, so that we're making sure that we're on the front foot with our customers. We've also translated lots of key documents, not just in multiple languages, but also in easy read English to make it more accessible. And we've completed accessibility audits of a lot of our venues, and we now have recommendations. So that's just not about the physical accessibility, but also what part people might see or need to look at. So wayfinding on their way to that facility. We also have language aids. And in terms of embedding a customer-centric culture, it's now in everyone's performance reviews that they have a goal for customer experience, because it's everyone's job. It's not just the call centre staff. And we have it in our position descriptions, as well as a 48-hour response time that's been introduced. So now anytime a customer contacts council, we have 48 hours to make contact with that person. And there's a whole lot of other improvements that have been made, which are outlined in the report. That's in terms of the strategy. In terms of the policy, we have reviewed it. The main changes that have been incorporated are around the internal review process. So there are three tiers of complaint management, and the changes have been around the 3rd tier, which is the internal review to the general manager. What we have done is introduce a criteria around that. Previously, people were requesting an internal review, but they weren't really being specific. So we didn't really have any reason to say, no, you can't have an internal review, even if their complaint had been looked at for tier 1 and tier 2. It also, a lot of the time, was just we aren't happy with the outcome. So there wasn't a specific thing. So now we have a criteria, which means that if you are looking for an internal review, you have to outline the reasons why. So it might be that there is new information that you're providing. It might be that you think that council hasn't followed their process. It might be a specific element that you're asking to be reviewed. So it might be, for example, if you've asked, to look at a report of 3 trees, it might be that there's 1 tree that you think is incorrect and they've had a blanket response on all 3. So there's things like that, but you just have to be very specific with your reason for the internal review, and then it will be assessed and go through the processes. And the time frame for that as well has been extended from 10-day turnaround time to 15 days, because once a complaint manages that hits that 3rd tier, it usually is quite complex, and there's lots of different data sets and lots of internal stakeholders that the customer advocates would need to talk to in order to get an outcome or a recommendation for the general manager. And we have seen an increase in volume as well, so in internal reviews. So just that 15-day turnaround time allows for a more adequate response. Is there any questions?
Councillors, any questions? I had a couple.
Yeah.
Really liked the callback option that's being offered when people are on hold. I think you said as well, Christy, something about 48 hours. So is that the estimated goal of calling them back, or is there a different threshold for that? Did I miss that?
Through you, Madam Chair. So it's two separate things. If you're calling council now, you can either hold for an operator to talk to you, or you can request a call back. So you don't lose your spot in the queue, and you can leave your phone number and we will call you back when it gets to that. So that's separate, which will hopefully stop people from, large wait times. The 48-hour response time target is for customer requests. So if you contact council through a customer request, you can either have an SMS, an email, a phone call. Someone will make contact with you within 2 days.
Yes. And the other question I had was about the web chat. Is that like one of those pop-up boxes, like a bot thing of how can we help you today? Is it one of those sorts of things?
Through you, Madam Chair, it is. So we've trained up a handful of staff, and we're going to keep training further as we add it on to different web pages. So for the moment, as I said, it's on trees, rates, and contact us, because they're three of our most common landing pages. And the aim is, again, that first point of resolution, so that someone doesn't need to call or email, but they can just get the quick response.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think it's really important that there is that these sort of proactive measures of being employed, because that's many people's first or only contact with council is there's a problem, and they don't want it to be more of a problem when they actually want to try and get that resolved. So all of these sort of enhancements are really going to help that customer experience, and that's really good. That was kind of it from me. Council, is any other councillor more?
How's the feedback been on it so far?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the feedback on the web chat.
Yeah.
So it only commenced, I think, last week on those 3 pages. We only had about 4 or 5 inquiries each day. You can get on there now. But the staff are feeling confident with what they're saying, and people did, like, it was first point resolution, so they then didn't have to call or email council. So very, very early days. As I said, it was a soft launch, but it's going well at this point.
Right, thanks, Ms. Dodd. Councillor Wang.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, just a few comments and questions. So first, I think it's a very comprehensive, good work and a good, a timely update of the strategy. So my question is like first, during that rubbish collection drama, so did we get a lot of complaints from the customers when we had the rollout of the new?
Sorry, Councillor Wayne. What was the question?
Like a few weeks ago, so when we had the new rubbish collection, the missing of the collection, did we receive lots of complaints from this using this facility?
Through you, Madam Chair, we did receive complaints. A lot of them are logged as our waste services. I don't want to talk to in terms of numbers of missed bin collections and things like that in here, because I know that Joseph has talked about that in his reports. But yes, we did receive complaints about waste. A lot of it was more inquiries, not complaints.
Okay, so I just make sure this.
There was a higher volume of inquiries.
Yeah.
But a lot of those didn't translate into complaints because they were able to resolve the issue with the customer.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good. It's working, just facility. So second question is like, I think 2 years ago, so I raised the questions and the motions about the community language into the customer service. You may remember. So you just mentioned that there's some community language embedded into this process. Can you just unpack a little bit, just give more detail about that one?
Through you, Madam Chair. So we do have the translation of the key documents.
Yeah.
So the Community Strategic Plan, the new Residents Guide, the CX Charter. We have simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Arabic, Nepali, and Greek, as well as the broader community plans like the Social Justice Charter. So we've translated a lot of our key documents for the community.
Yeah.
And we also have a internal staff policy around language aid. So the customer service staff have access to sort of a list of staff across council who are bilingual or can speak different community languages, and then they can call upon their services if there is someone at the front desk or at the front counter or on the phone,
Yep.
who may be having a language barrier.
So, so because I got to know the police or force, they have to roll out a app, mobile app, so they can talk just in multiple languages of the common scenarios and report crime and everything. So that's more advanced. So what I'm trying to get is it's good. So we have the documents translated into community language. So and also have this internal resource with the multilingual resource and the staff. And how's the experience? I'm just saying, do we have people calling in and say, no, I speak Arabic. Can I get a staff to talk to me, or do you have any experience like that?
Not at this point where no one has been able to assist.
Yeah.
And if we don't have internal staff who can assist, we can always get language aid through other services as well, external community services.
So do we get are we listed as a sort of service provider under the 131450, the translation service?
Yes.
So can people access us through translation service?
Yes, and that's also on council's website.
Okay, cool. So the last question is about AI, because I know lots of corporates or government organizations, they're using AI to do the customer service, using the bot and everything just to answer. You can have a chatbot. Are we looking into that one? Or?
We are exploring the opportunity for efficiencies with AI. We have put in a budget bid, which is currently in the draft budget, around building a database that then AI could access.
Yeah.
So that is currently in the draft budget for next year to start building that back-end database.
Okay, so that's what could be very productive, I think, because it's already at work in lots of corporates. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any further questions? No? If that's, Councillor Liu, Deputy Mayor Liu.
Thank you. Through you, Madam May. I'm just going to the director. For example, if the customers put an inquiry into the customer service desk, sometimes related, so if, the issue can be solved by submitting log it and fix it. Is our front desk help them to do it, or we teach them how to use the logs and fix it?
Through you, Madam
Yeah,
Chair.
that's my question.
Yes, so the front counter staff, if someone comes in and is unsure how to use council's log it fix it system, we will assist them in doing it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
I mean, we can do it for them, but our approach would always be to build their capacity to do it.
Yeah,
themselves.
of course. Try to educate them
Yeah.
how to use that system, right? Thank you.
Councillors, are there any further questions? No? Okay, if that's the case, I'll ask Ms McKinley to go around the room, please.
Madam Chair,
4.
Councillor Allison.
4.
Councillor Anzalotti.
4.
Councillor Arthur.
4.
Councillor Demoski.
4.
Councillor Gown.
4.
Councillor Liu.
4.
Councillor Mort.
4.
Councillor Wang.
4.
9 votes for, unanimous.
Great, thank you. We'll declare that one carried. And I believe that is the final item on the agenda for tonight. So we can declare the meeting closed at 6:25 p.m. Thank you everybody for your attendance, and thank you to council officers and staff for putting together the business paper for this evening. And good night.